is your Aries new moon for April 17th, 2026. And yes, indeed, we have the new moon, the sun with the moon conjunct at 27 degrees of Aries. So this is really positive. And what is Aries? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is about new beginnings, both with Aries and the new moon. Aries is a very zestful fire sign. And Aries, yes, is about starting fresh, the spring. And in this case, we have the new moon in Aries conjunct the healer Chiron at 26 degrees of Aries. So right now we're going to feel like we can close the book. We've got the answers that we have been searching for. And now with this Aries connection, we finally feel somehow we are vindicated for something. And this creates a healing. And this is really good because Aries is all about new starts and new beginnings. And with a closed book, with the new moon in Aries conjunct Chiron, we are feeling, yes, that definite sense of newness, of starting over, if you will. Feeling like finally we resolved an issue emotionally, mentally, and now, after doing a little bit of some sit down psychology, so to speak, we feel right now that we have all the energy in the world to move forward with new projects, businesses, new anything. And this is very positive indeed. And because Aries is the opposite sign of Libra, which is the legal sign, and that's the seventh house, Aries is the first house. Nonetheless, because of this, well, very much stellium in Aries, there may be some discussions, very somewhat aggressive discussions, because we're talking Aries here. And Aries is very assertive, can be very aggressive. There may be discussions on the legal end, even though there is not really anything right now in Libra. Aries is the Libra Aries first seventh house axis nonetheless. And we will have very much hope for whatever it is that we want to begin right now. It could be a fresh cycle in our life. It could be anything where we are beginning, whether it's business, whether it's career, whether it's love and relationship, legalities, you name it. Aries is all about taking the initiative because Aries is ruled by Mars, and because we have Mars additionally in the sign of Aries conjunct the talker, the communicator of Mercury, and well, yes, deceptive Neptune, and very determined, focused, wise Saturn. Well, we're really gonna have to be careful that we don't want to step on other people's toes, because the new moon is late in Aries, so it kind of has a bit, just a tinge of a Taurus sense, a little bit of that stubborn nature that we're going to feel a little bit fixed about starting whatever it is we want to begin right now. But because we additionally have Neptune, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn conjoining each other, well, this only adds to the Aries aggression, the Aries fire. So with all this stress in Aries, yes, we will have to be cautious about what we say, what we do, because Mercury and Mars are there, and they are conjunct within about 2 degrees right now. But you've got Neptune, the deceiver, you got Saturn, the blocker. And so, what does that mean? Well, Mars and Saturn are really not the most compatible with each other because Mars, although it's in its own sign, oh, we are feeling really like we're ready to go. Saturn puts on the block. And within 2 degrees between Mars in its own and Saturn, well, Saturn isn't always at its best in Aries. We want to really get going, but Saturn is saying wait. And so this creates a frustration. So, although we are outspoken, we want to just begin. We want to just say what's on our mind. We want to take action because Mars is really happy in the sign of Aries in its own. Saturn, remember, is a teacher. So therefore, Saturn is kind of the wise one here on the block with all this Aries. And then you've got the deceiver, nebulous Neptune, also at 2 degrees, somewhat early on in Aries. So, although there's somewhat of a bit of a wide conjunction between Neptune and Saturn within 5 degrees, nonetheless, it is still yet a conjunction. So, Saturn, the wise one, is putting on the brakes. We're ready to go. And because we are feeling rather, well, fiery and impatient, Aries, and Saturn, even though it is also in Aries, no matter what, Saturn is just saying, wait, yes, Saturn can cause delays. Yes, indeed. And even if we get whatever it is that we're trying to begin right now off the ground, that may be the issue indeed, because there are stops and starts and stops and starts, delays because of Saturn. Remember again, Saturn is the wise one, the philosopher, the teacher. And Neptune doesn't help out too much because it's deceptive and it is conjoining Mercury there and Mars. So you must be careful of what you sign right now because of Neptune's influence. In all that readiness to go after what we want, we cannot ignore Neptune in the mix here with Mars and Mercury. So even though we think we know what's what with contracts or negotiations, well, Neptune kind of muddies the water here. And even if right now during this full moon, when we're trying to start everything right now, we may find later on down the road, because see, that's how Neptune operates sometimes, that whatever we signed, whatever we negotiated, whatever we discussed, began, etc., may dissolve entirely. Why? Because Neptune is also known as the dissolver. Yes. So Mercury is okay in Aries with Mars. It certainly gives us a need to be very direct, very outspoken, but again here too, because Neptune is there with Saturn, even in our communication, not just our actions, we will feel stymied. Like, wow, we thought we had everything going for us. We really have been negotiating a new business. You really have wanted to take steps to uh, get a fresh start wherever it is, including relationships, including business, career, what have you, work. But Well, later on down the line, when Neptune shows the disillusion here, it will be a lesson learned. And Saturn is a teacher. So take the lesson from Saturn here. It's wonderful. Take a hint from Aries to begin whatever it is. Can't say that word enough with this Aries stress right now. But you have to take a tad bit of wisdom from Saturn, even in Aries too, because the time right now is planning, yes. Enthusiasm, yes, check. But you don't want to be so caught up in your aggression that you oversee the details, Neptune, and miss out on what you really need to slow down and focus on. And that is what Saturn is trying to tell us. Yes, it may be frustrated because of these delays. It may be frustrated because you're blocked. Maybe you have these brilliant Aries ideas right now, but you may find that other people may not be on the same page, or for whatever reason, there are those blocks. But look at it this way, it would be meant to be in the future with Neptune in this picture. So, yes, it is a new moon. Yes, there is a stress or a stellium in Aries. And there's a lot of positive vibes to take away from all this. But what this chart is saying is if you find that you are seeing frustrations and delays, blocks, and all this enthusiasm, all these discussions, all these good vibrations and energy, the fire of Aries. Remember, you've got Saturn there to slow down and rethink everything. And do be cautious, read the fine print. Speak and act, Mercury and Mars, very clearly. Very specific about what you want. So maybe you can kind of get over that nebulous Neptune in the future. Nonetheless, it is a good time for applying sensitivity and Neptune, creative insight. So there's some good that will come out of this. Now, we do have Pluto, the powerhouse, now at 5 degrees of Aquarius. And the depositor here, of course, is Uranus at 29 critical of Taurus. And remember, what is Taurus? It is about our Earth. And when you've got 29 critical and the depositor of Pluto, the powerhouse of those in authorities, and those that are, well, just a little bit rebellious, a little bit unpredictable, and you've got Uranus barely there in Taurus at 29 degrees. Well, this may mean a couple things. First of all, Pluto is connected with those in authority. And with Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus, yes, there could be some aggression right now because Taurus is a bit of a bully. And by barely over a conjunction, you've got Venus. So that kind of smooths things over a little bit. Venus is all about beauty. It's about peace. So that's good. It's moving towards a greater conjunction to Uranus, if you will. So that's good. But nonetheless, Pluto is still in Aquarius. And once Uranus goes into Gemini, it'll be all about communications, a flurry of communications. But while Uranus is still in Taurus, we will have to be cautious of bullying. We will have to be cautious of being overly stubborn and getting our way. And this may also cause some issues right now, especially at 29 critical Uranus in Taurus. And Venus, oh, thank goodness that's there. And Venus with Uranus may rule what? The unusual, the abstract. So there may be discussions about individuals that are very unique, kind of genius in their style, or genius represented with any form of creativity right now. But we do want to keep the peace, which is positive here. But if we are not apt to do so, we've got Uranus there, and Uranus is always the rebel, the unexpected, the unpredictable. And with Uranus in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius, well, those in authority right now are going to be apt to act rather unpredictably. Yes, a bit pugnacious and rebellious. We'll see a lot of that, but because it's also connected with the public and humanity, well, there's going to be a lot of opinions out there, especially with Mars and Mercury and Aries. People really just want to say what's on their minds. A lot of opinions. But again, we've got this connection with Aquarius and Uranus. We don't want to get so fired up, Aries, that we really kind of get in each other's way and get in each other's face. And so this is going to be a possibility. And Venus, take a hint there and just look forward to peace, negotiations, beauty. Focus on that creativity, those beautiful ideas. And Venus, kind of like Mars, is in its own. So that's also a positive for this time during the new moon. Both Mars and Venus are in their own signs. So there's going to also, with that said, there's also going to be a lot of discussions about love, relationships, even if a bit unconventional, sexuality, intimacy, creativity, and the balancing of relationships. And that's of all kinds. It could be family relationships, love relationships, but in particular, love relationships. So this is going to be a hot topic right now, and unconventionality and so on and so forth with love, with anything unique, unpredictable, brilliant, rebellious. But the tone of this chart is kind of rash. Yes, impulsive because of this Aries dynamic with the Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius. So right now, this is the time when you don't want to be so insistent in getting your way that you're going to roughshod over other people. This is the time to really take a hint from Venus and Taurus, is really the time to focus on your ideals, focus on beginning, focus on the future, which is also Aries and Aquarius. Focus on your goals, ambitions. Get fired up for that, but don't get so opinionated, so sure that your way is the right way, that it creates this disarray and conflict and disruptions, chaos. We must keep that in mind. And we have Jupiter, the prosperity planet, still yet in the sign of Cancer. And yes, Jupiter is connected in this case because we're talking Cancer rules the fourth house. It is connected with the economy, family, family issues, the family unit, what you call family, and living situations. So while Jupiter's still in its trek in the sign of Cancer, this is going to be a discussion now. What else is Cancer? The fourth house, living situations, family, what have you, housing, your personal abode, what you think is connected with your house. And it also is in connection with what? Real estate, the economy, kind of like with the second house where we've got Taurus here. And so with this connection with Jupiter in Cancer, Venus and Uranus in Taurus, there's going to be a lot of discussion about the economy, especially stock market. Taurus. So this could be exceptionally good right now for the stock market, investments, the real estate market, economy, uh, anything that's connected with investments, monies, silver, gold, metals, and so on. So I'm apt to believe because Jupiter is in Cancer, and Cancer loves to save for a rainy day, and Venus, which is all about love, it's about prosperity, and Uranus is a bit unpredictable. But in Taurus, there may be some important or radical news connected with real estate, metals, investments, and so on, the stock market, and so on and so forth, because Taurus loves money. So the economy and whatnot, most likely in a positive direction, is also going to be an exceedingly strong focus right now. And you can't miss that with Venus in its own sign of Taurus. Yes, indeed. And of course, we've got the South Node in Virgo at 7 degrees and the North Node in Pisces. So that's all about healing. It's all about medical. It's all about medicine. And so that will also be a very sensitive point right now because we are talking the North Node and the South Node in Pisces and Virgo. So again, to finalize here, we want to remain calm. We don't want to get so full of ourselves that we charge forward and we step on our and other people's toes, that this creates kind of a war zone because Aries is really wanting to just speak their mind. And that, again, as I said before, this is a positive. But if there is conflict or chaos, we want to just kind of not speak our mind so much, not be so aggressive and so certain that we are creating further disharmony. And especially additionally, we have here Jupiter in Cancer, and doesn't really come into a square really with the new moon, uh, and not even with the other areas of this Aries stellium. Nonetheless, the Aries and Cancer Jupiter energy could create further friction. And because we're talking Jupiter, well, Jupiter does everything in a big way. It rules prosperity. It also is connected with education, ninth house, and so on. Um, this is a time also you don't want to overspend on another note, you don't want to get so carried away that maybe you feel like you've got some new money coming right now, that you also overlook the details of your spending and your savings. So with this, let's just say with the connection with Jupiter and Aries, not really squaring so much by aspect, but by sign, minor aspects, it's still a time to be watchful of your spending, of your finances, because as I said, there's going to be some big discussions all about stock market, money metals, uh, investments, real estate, this type of thing right now. So that's kind of good because there's going to be some probable good news for us as far as the market, financial, maybe even connected with government now, especially as we've got Venus in Taurus and Jupiter that is rather prosperous in Cancer. So the takeaway from this tone right now for this Aries new moon, between the Aries new moon and the next full moon, is just be really chill. That is the message. No matter how happy you are and really raring to go for whatever goals you've got in mind, we also have indications of frustrations. So with that said, this is the time to just be focused on those objectives. That's wonderful, but just make sure you do it well, happily and quietly. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many, many blessings.